Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the bench. It is fantastic as always to have you guys along. Today we are going to be discussing this frame. This is the Yeti airframe, and the reason why I wanted to do a bit of a series on this frame is because the range of Yetis now available has expanded quite a bit. We started out originally with this, which is the 5.1 inch racing version of the Yeti. We did this for teammate Slojo. We also have 6 and 7 inch options available for long range. There is also 2 different variations of this frame available now, and there is also the baby 3 inch Yeti brother available in 2 options as well. So in this episode, what I want to do is just take a look at the bare kit content built up like this and just explain some of the different key features of all the different frames and just take you through the whole range. Then in the second episode, what I'd like to do is take the bare kit as you see it here and start introducing some of the different print options for the frames, because there are print options available specifically for racing, for freestyle, and for mid and long range as well. So that'll be the second episode. Then finally in the third episode, what I'd like to do is bring in some built up Yetis which have been built up specifically for racing, specifically for freestyle, and then also for long range, and just discuss those frames. The Yeti 5 inch is available in 2 different options as well. Those options are specifically to the arms. The rest of the airframe is exactly the same. So the first Yeti which we introduced had T300 grade arms, which is a very good reliable grade of carbon, but it is slightly more price conscious. We then introduced a second option which has T700 grade carbon arms. That is a Toray unidirectional carbon fiber. It is slightly more expensive, but you get a heck of a lot more performance out of the arms as well. So if you are flying or racing in some hazardous areas where you could make a mistake and hit a tree or concrete or steel, that is a good option. The Yeti 5 inch weighs in at 85 grams, either the T300 or 700, both weighing in at 85 grams. And the Yeti 5 inch is a stretched plan form again, so the distance between your front and rear motors is slightly more than the width left to right. The 6 and 7 inch Yetis were designed specifically for your mid and long range cruising. The 6 inch variation comes in at 101 grams and its bigger 7 inch brother weighs 108 grams. Both these frames are a compressed X plan form, so we reduced the distance between the motors front and rear as much as we could to get as much of the prop out of your HD view as possible. I am going to use the 5 inch Yeti for most of this discussion, as this is the original Yeti which we first released, and it forms the backbone of the rest of the 6 and 7 inch range as well. We were approached by one of our team pilots, Joe. Everyone knows him as Slojo. He said to us he wants something a little different. He wants a super tough, rugged race frame. He wants something that is going to protect his electronics at all costs. He wants it to be simple to build, simple to maintain. The simplicity part for him was really important. And he said to us he wasn't too concerned if the frame picked up a couple of extra grams here and there, if the reliability and toughness of the frame went through the roof. So that was kind of a cool concept. We're all kind of looking for that magic recipe, and after quite a while, quite a few months of R&D testing, bench testing, flying this thing, and being quite relentless in our testing and R&D process, we finally came up with the Yeti concept that you see here. So this definitely ticked quite a few of the boxes that Joe was looking for and that I was looking for out of this concept as well. So starting off, we have integrated a great number of the parts in this frame together. So you'll see when we start tearing this frame down a bit how the arms actually interlock into the side plates front and rear. The arms, the top chassis plate, the bottom chassis plate, it all kind of like fits together like a watch. And that integration of different carbon and all the hardware itself creates a very stiff, strong, reliable airframe overall. So we were able to minimize the number of carbon parts and minimize the hardware by integrating all the parts like that. So the simplicity of the frame went through the roof because we were able to minimize our part count overall, which was great. You only need a single Allen driver to pull this entire frame apart, so that's great for quick field repairs or in between race heats. You need to do some maintenance on something, you only need a single Allen driver to pull the entire frame apart, which is great. In terms of toughness, this frame really does take quite a beating. We were quite okay, sounding like a bit of a broken record now, but we were quite relentless in our testing, and we did push this frame pretty far. So it does definitely take quite a beating, and it does a really good job of protecting both your camera and your electronic stack in the center as well. So that it ticked that box quite well. In terms of weight, as you see it here, this airframe, the 5-inch version, including the battery pad, is 85 grams. So we were really happy with that result as well. I want to discuss quickly just the two arm options on the 5-inch frame. So this one that we have here is the T700 Torre grade carbon. Now, the T700 is the second 5-inch version of the frame which we released, and it is a higher performing carbon fiber than the standard T300 grade which we first released. They look almost identical from the outside, except for, try to get that into shot now, except for that little notch. So that little notch in the center there signifies that this is the T700 grade arm option. These arms are completely interchangeable, so if you do want to start out with the T300 and you find that one of them does break, there is also always the option to go to a T700 grade arm as well. Not to say that the T300 doesn't take one heck of a beating. All the original tests we did with the Yeti were on the T300 grade arm. Also the wall crash test that Joe did, that was also done on this arm. Okay, so I just want to speak briefly about some of the other aspects to this frame as well. You'll see that the Yeti is quite a distinct, unique shape. There's nothing else really out there that looks like this, and this overall general shape is very, very specific. So obviously the sides are very indicative of that traditional camera protection that all of our airframes show. So these camera side plates will protect your camera from 10 degrees all the way up to 70 degrees. So we've just blended that out. But the geometry and the architecture of this front is predominantly due to the camera and the arc it sweeps out for different camera angles. Having a look at the rear end of the frame, a very similar type of shape. We've slanted this down a little bit. This top rail is sitting at 10 degrees currently. So for some of the guys who are doing long range, where every single gram for them counts, a lot of guys don't even want to run a HD camera mount. So what a lot of them will do is put a small piece of foam under their camera and just bolt that and Velcro strap that straight down to these top rails. That is at 10 degrees, so that was the reason for that. That was just a nice option we could offer to guys who wanted to do that as well. The rear end being so blunted out and smooth like this is quite specific as well. So it is always better if you can deflect impact energy. So if you hit something, rather than stopping dead instantly, which puts a massive strain on both your airframe and all your electronics as well. If you can rather hit something and glance off of it and skid across the grass and then come to a halt, that option is a lot better, because your G-loading and your deceleration in a crash is so much less. If you hit a tree dead and stop instantly from a full speed send, chances are something is probably going to break. So we took the stance, it is always better to deflect impact energy. So you'll see there's very little for you to actually hook this frame up on. So that was the whole idea. Deflect as much impact energy as possible. Integrate as many parts within the frame with all your hardware and your carbon as well, to make the toughest, most rigid frame possible. In the event that you can't deflect an impact and you have to absorb that energy, the extreme rigidity of the entire frame means that it is really good at dissipating energy as well. So if you take a massive impact on an arm, the arm itself isn't taking that load. The load then gets dissipated throughout the rest of the frame, and the rest of the material, the carbon, all the hardware also absorbs some of that impact energy as well. So the Yeti is a bit of a strange shape, but that is very specific. The front hole there is for your micro size camera, the rear hole is for your mini cam, and the bottom slot is for the lower bolt on your mini camera, just to lock that down into place. The notches up front here are also really specific. We put these tiny little notches in here just to indicate your camera angle. So if you draw a line through the center of the notch and through the rear hole in for your mini camera, each one of these indicates 10 degrees. So the first one is 10, then count these out: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 degrees camera angle. You obviously can go a little bit more and a little bit less, but we just stuck these on the frame as a bit of a reference, so you can actually count them out and adjust your camera angle to your needs. Or both the side plates, the front and the rear side plates, use the same interlocking bolt system. So we use a wide flange stainless steel nylock nut in there, front and rear, to lock the entire frame down into position. The bolts don't just bolt the parts together, they actually lock everything into place here, and they do also improve the stiffness and the strength of this airframe quite dramatically. So that's why we have used that system on the Yeti. Another cool feature to the rail system that we ran here, so if you is the ease of maintenance, which we wanted. If you remove the bolt here and remove the lower bolt there in the rear, this rail or the rails actually flip up out of the way like the hood of a car. So that makes quick field repairs really quick and simple, because you'll still have your antenna in place. All the print options for antennas pivot around this rear standoff, so you can get to your electronic stack really quickly. If you need to get to your entire stack, you can just unplug your camera and then pull out these 4 bolts in the corners here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then this entire assembly just peels off, giving you full access to your entire stack. The base plate itself is a 3mm thick piece of carbon fiber. So we've taken the edge off in the battery strap area here, just to stop the sharp edge of the carbon from actually cutting into your battery strap. The rest of the base plate, you'll see we've gone with a straight cut edge, and that is just to maximize the rigidity and the torsional stiffness of the base plate. We've also made allowance here for both your standard 30.5 by 30.5 stack and also your 20 by 20 M2 micro stack as well. So both of those options are available on there. Another cool feature to this frame, which we've tested quite extensively and we really like it, is all the zip tie slots that you'll see throughout the frame and the base as well. So these two at the back here are just for securing your power leads. So if you yank on your power lead, you don't run the risk of pulling the leads off of your ESC. The ones in the corner are for the exact same purpose. Those are for your motor wires. So what you can do is route your motor wires down here on the inside towards your stack, and then you can actually put a zip tie around there and just like mitigate the risk of actually possibly yanking your motor wires and pulling them off your ESC. So just a bit of a safety net there, but it does offer quite a bit of peace of mind as well. So we've really tried our best here to offer as much protection to your electronics as possible. The 6-inch, like I said, the fuselage is absolutely identical. So if you do want to go up or down on prop size, you can keep your center section exactly the same and just swap out your arms, which is quite a cool feature on this frame. Both the 6 and the 7-inch are compressed or are a compressed X planform, so the distance front to rear is less than they are side to side. The reason for that is twofold. Firstly, we wanted to pull as much of the prop disc out of your HD recording as possible. You do pick up the props in view at low camera angles, but you tilt your camera angle up a little bit and you will clear your prop view there. But also that very wide stance gives you a very smooth cinematic type photography that a lot of or shots that a lot of long-range pilots are looking for. They want to go to beautiful locations and film something from a perspective which no one has ever seen before. So that kind of planform definitely lends itself to that super smooth footage that so many guys are after. The 7-inch here, let's get that into shot. So the 7-inch, again, very similar idea to its smaller 6-inch brother, exactly the same. It is also a compressed planform. Stretch the arms out ever so slightly more just to accommodate the 7-inch prop. Okay, so that is the 5, 6 and 7-inch Yetis. 2 arm options available on the 5-inch, and then you've got the 6 and the 7-inch frames as well. Alrighty, so that is the end of the first episode in the Yeti series. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments about this first episode, please leave some comments below and I will try and answer you guys as best I can. Alternatively, just send us an email directly and I can try and sort out whatever questions or queries you may have. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, ciao.